My name is Adam Denny, and I am in my second year in our program. My concentration is career counseling and student affairs. I completed my undergrad at East Carolina University as well in special education. I'm originally from New Jersey and moved down to North Carolina to complete my undergrad, and eventually now that has me here completing my master's. I have three brothers. My oldest brother is a graduate of ECU. He is a theater manager in New York City at the State Theater, the Public Theater. I'm sorry, that was his last job. I have my brother Matthew. He is an occupational therapist in Greenville. My younger brother Jacob is also a graduate of East Carolina, and he is a physical education teacher in Wilson. Just recently my parents moved to North Carolina, and they live in Greenville as well. So that 8-hour buffer has become an 8-minute buffer. So it's been very interesting. But some other things about myself is that I'm completing my internship at the Career Center. I completed my practicum there as well. I've started to really enjoy that aspect of counseling, particularly because it is very solution focused, and you have the ability to work with individuals on their attributes and skills, and it's just very rewarding in that sense, particularly in my situation where that's something that I look forward to and I look at as professionally as a goal, is to be able to have that a part of my profession. Our second question is your biggest fear. So my biggest fears, as I read the first chapter and on the second chapter now, is the idea of laws being the minimal and our ethics being the best that we can provide. And when you think about that, it's just the idea isn't daunting. It's just the idea of knowing that every single situation is going to be different. Every individual that we counsel, every individual that comes into our office, they're going to have something, just a brand new situation with, different things that are in their lives, in their community, within their system, that is going to be affecting it, and having to think about that every single time, and making sure that every time I provide them the best to my ability, which is good because we have a guideline of ethics. It's just always that fine line of, every situation is going to be different, and making sure I'm doing that. It's not necessarily the idea of utilizing ethics. It's making sure that I utilize those ethics in the best of the ability to support my client as best I can. Again, it's not something that is this deep down fear, but it's just that idea of being responsible and being there with the client, making sure that it's provided no matter what, and I'm taking the time to appreciate those ethical considerations. The third actual one is to read the ACA Code of Ethics, and the one that I chose is A9C, confidentiality, and it states, counselors who provide services to terminate ill individuals who are considering hastening their own deaths have the option of breaking or not breaking confidentiality, depending on applicable laws and the specific circumstances of the situation, after seeking consultation or supervision from appropriate professionals and legal parties. That was an interesting one for me because, in all honesty, I have a personal belief in that type of situation, and it doesn't necessarily have to go with terminally ill. But Alzheimer's is something that's a part of my family, and I've made it very known to my family members and those that I care about that if there becomes a time where I get to a point in my life and I start to see that I'm just not there functionally, I would like to be able to have the ability to make that decision on if I want to continue on. So while looking at that code of ethics, it's comforting to know that you have the option of breaking or not breaking. Naturally, because I would never want to put somebody in a position where, hey, we have these options, but it's such a difficult gray zone where you're going to tell an individual you don't have the right to take your, to make that decision on your own of sound mind. And there's that gray zone of, again, when you speak to somebody about being terminally ill and they're saying their pain and they're hurting and they're struggling and they just don't want to deal with it anymore, I'm not sure you couldn't make that connection to an individual that wants to take their life at 14. As sad as that sounds, it's just something that caught my mind. And again, it goes along with, a discussion that I've actually just recently had with my family about that idea of wanting to be able to make that decision when I get older. Again, there's a lot of moving parts with that, but it's just something that I found interesting that was included in the ACA Code of Ethics, and it's something that I don't know, I guess when the situation arose, I would naturally have to speak with somebody like the code said and the ethical code says. But yeah, that was the one code of ethic that I thought about. 5 is tell us the biggest piece of information you hope to learn or gain from this class. And as I stated earlier, there's never going to be a direct answer for every single time. My hope is that I gain enough experience or knowledge or understanding to make the best decision when that time comes. And again, there is no absolute, but I know when I need to go speak to somebody, or I learn the appropriate ways to go and get help and not have to rely on that decision being made on my own, and being able to put your own personal hang-ups away and make sure that you're focusing on the client and being able to do that. And I hope that I gain not only the understanding of when, but again, how and why. And that's a big thing for me, because again, it comes down to the client, and that's who we focus on. So I'm looking forward to the class, and have a great week.